Welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Today we're going to plant some green beans. Who doesn't like green beans? I know there's some of you out there, but man, I love fresh green beans from the garden, and we're going to grow some this year. Last year I grew some rattlesnake pole beans. I asked everybody in my community here on the channel, what's the best tasting green bean out there? And rattlesnake pole bean was the overwhelming answer. And it was delicious, and we grew them successfully, and I showed you how to do it. I'm basically going to repeat that process this year, but I've selected a different bean just because I'm out there looking for a true stringless green bean, one that doesn't have a string when it gets large. And even the rattlesnake pole bean tended to have a string in it that became kind of annoying. So what I've chosen this year is this green bean, Seychelles, from Johnny Select Seed. This is a nice green bean that has won the American selection, the AAA All-American selection. It was an All-American selection winner. So there it is, it says so right there. It's supposed to be a good bean, a delicious bean that doesn't have a string. It is a pole bean. Now, when dealing with beans and growing them, there are two growth habits. There's the bush bean and there's the pole bean. And you want to make sure you know what you got when you select your seeds, because if you try to grow a pole bean that without a trellis, you're going to have disaster. So what are the benefits of pole beans versus bush beans, or the other way around? Bush beans, they grow trouble-free pretty much. They grow up in a bush form and they set their fruit. I've grown bush beans. I grew a wax bean recently, dragon tongue. That was a bush bean. Did well for me, put on a lot of fruit. The thing about a bush bean is that it fruits in 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 flushes of fruit if you keep it picked, and then it's done and it dies. The thing about pole beans, though, is you plant them and you train them to grow up a trellis, and if you keep them picked, and particularly keep them picked while the beans are somewhat young, it will keep on producing for you. And that's the kind I like. Now, I've learned some things about growing beans. A lot of people have said that beans don't need a lot of care. They're kind of a plant and forget crop. I was watching a video, Luke over at MI Gardener, he has an uncle who's a bean grower, a bean farmer, and he gave him some good advice. He said, although beans are nitrogen fixers and fix their own nitrogen, if you want to get more beans, fertilize in the first week. When they first come up, fertilize with a high nitrogen fertilizer. It's kind of counterproductive, right? We don't want to grow foliage, we want to grow beans. But he said that if you do that, it'll get the plant larger and stronger early, and then don't put any more nitrogen on that bean plant. Then keep them well watered and pick them before the beans get, as big as they possibly could. Once the beans start maturing their seeds, you're going to find that it's going to stop production, because the plant is going to put all its resources into maturing the seed. After all, that's what the plant is all about. It wants to come to maturity, it wants to make seeds and die. Its job is over. If you pick those beans when they're still a little small, and when the seeds haven't started to swell up inside that bean, your plant will continue to put on more fruit. So there's some tips. Let's go prepare our soil. My fall crops are kind of in the way. I have some purple cabbage there, just now starting to head up. I could harvest it now and have it out of the way, but I think I'll wait. I'll just work carefully around it. I've got some nice soil here that I fluffed up with my stirrup hoe, and I've broken up the surface because I didn't mulch the winter garden. The surface where it is exposed to the sun has become kind of hard and dry and coarse. So what I did, I took my scuffle hoe and I brought up some of that good soil that's down, that fine soil down below. And we've prepared 3 rows here. I'm just going to grow 3 rows of beans. I find that that's plenty for our family. It keeps us into beans for a long time. 3 rows is sufficient. We'll put a net trellis over these rows. But first, let's get our beans in. Typically, you plant a green bean directly in the soil when the weather is warm. These beans prefer 65 to 70 degrees. That's the lowest. That's what it says on here. and they will produce until it gets up into the 90s, and then they won't like it so much, and they'll look pretty pathetic when the heat comes on. But in between then and now, we've got plenty of time to get some green beans. So let me make a furrow here in my rows. Real easy, just drag the back end of a tool. I'm going to bury these about an inch deep, maybe a little less. I'm spacing my rows pretty close. Some people have said that I space my beans too close, and that's not the case. I have found that when they're this close together, about 2 feet, when they're 2 feet apart, there's plenty of space in between for me to get in there and harvest. And since the sun transits this way, it covers all my needs. Light gets down in there. Let's remove this leaf here. You're kind of in the way. I like Johnny's seeds, but you can get your seeds from virtually anywhere. If you want to support an excellent seed company, go over to Seeds for Generations. Use my link down in the description box, and that will be supporting our channel. Seeds for Generations is currently recovering from a fire that virtually destroyed their operation. So I'm just placing these seeds about 5 inches apart. Read your seed packet for spacing information. Any of these seeds that look damaged, I'll throw out. And I'm just going to put these in, like I said, about 5 inches apart. Beans are actually fairly easy to grow, and you can almost always have success. And it's very rewarding to come out and harvest your beans and go in and cook with something you grew yourself. Last year, I took some of those rattlesnake pole beans inside and I showed you how to cook them in one recipe, and it was our taste test to see if they were actually what you folks said, the best green bean. And it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I got to try another one. All right. All our beans are in. Seal up that. All we do is just cover them over with that soil. Just cover them in. Real easy. Push that one down a little more. The seed packet tells me that we should be eating green beans in about 55 days. That's pretty quick. All right, let's get on the other side. All this dry soil just breaks right up in my hand, so I'm not really concerned about the coarseness. Once we water it, it'll start to break down. Now you can see we've got 2 different sizes. I didn't notice that. Well, I'm not about to change it now. Our trellises will just have to come up to there. Phew. I'm going to be using this net trellis, and the challenge with a net trellis is finding the corners. So let's try to unravel this, locate the corners so we can cut our pieces. What a mess. Oh, gee. I use these net trellises every year and never seem to figure them out completely. I think we're onto something here. I think that's a corner. Now, I like to use zip ties in the garden. I find them to be very useful. Saves me time. And I'm just going to zip tie the top corner to the top of my post here. Just like that. And then we're going to walk across to the other side and put that top corner over here. And you can see it's a perfect fit. Actually, I'm going to bring it down because I want it to at least look decent. We just work our way down a little bit, kind of stretch it out. And once we've got a few of these tied, we can cut it off down at the bottom. And that's all there is to a net trellis. Our beans, when they sprout, they'll find this trellis. We'll find it quite quickly, actually. And we'll begin their journey upward. They will get to the top and kind of fold over on themselves if they're particularly vigorous. And that's when you got to get out here and kind of deal with that. All right. Doesn't need to be perfect. One more ought to do. Yeah, I used to tie these to the pole with twine, and man, that got real old real fast. These beans need a lot of water to get going, so don't be skimpy on them. I'm going to put this entire 2.5 gallons on this side and then another 2.5 gallons on the other side. We want that soil to settle around those beans, hydrate them, and get them germinated quickly. We want to come out and do this every day until they come up. Keep your beans nice and watered. Again, speaking about this trellis, when these beans come up, they'll find the trellis. You don't have to guide them. They'll latch on and they'll climb right up it. I just wanted to thank you all for subscribing to our channel and considering our channel worth your investment of time. We are swiftly on our way to hitting 200,000 subscribers. If the stats are indicating a timing, the analytics kind of indicate that we'll hit 200,000 next week. I will be in Illinois next week visiting my daughter. My son will be staying at our house keeping the garden, my oldest son and my youngest son, and he'll be out here keeping things in good shape. Maybe I'll get a video from him. But here's what I'm thinking. If we hit 200,000, let's celebrate with a live stream. Let's celebrate and just chat together, talk together, do some questions and answers. That's what I usually do. I don't do many live streams, but when I do, it's usually to celebrate a milestone. And wow, 200,000 subscribers is a milestone, and I'm very grateful for y'all. I'm so grateful. All right, there's our beans. Now we just wait. I'm gonna put this watering can right here to remind me tomorrow that I need to water. If you'd like to learn how to garden in a small backyard context like this, especially in a similar zone, join us, man. This is a teaching garden. We teach you how to grow vegetables, fruit, apples, oranges, grapes, all kinds of stuff. Subscribe to our channel if we've earned your subscription. Thank you. We'll talk to you next time on Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Take care. Bye-bye. Man, it's hot. Time to switch to a straw hat.